Hey guys, welcome to the tiebreaker. Oops, I forgot to update the tick here. Meyara has scored one, so we'll get the black screen here. Meyara up one. Not up one. Can't talk all of a sudden. We're tied one apiece. That's what I'm trying to say here. Between Yaqoob and Meyara. Bottom left hand corner, Yaqoob starting as the magenta Protoss. Bottom right hand corner, we got Meyara starting as the yellow Zerg. This is going to be on Polestar. And we'll see what happens. We had a little bit of chat discussion here in the background. Yaqoob talking about double-clicking probe, messing everything up. I think the big problem in that previous match was an investment in cannons that effectively just did not pay off. And also losing that probe scout that early, even without the Zergling speed. The Zergling speed kind of compounded the issue, but losing the drone scout and not being able to have eyes on the front can really hurt. Pylon drop, we'll see if 8 is a first scout for Yaqoob. Looks like he's going to the top left-hand corner. So more likely than not going to end up scouting in last position. Meyara scooting his overlord towards the bottom left. Should be able to scout, get full eyes. Looks like he's going for more of a stereotypical build, not investing. I'm going to guess this is going to be an overpool, not investing in gas. This time for the early Zergling swarm. I will say his macro was spot on and he really executed that quite well. There's that brief pause where I was a little bit concerned in the assault on the front, but I think what was happening in the space at that time was there was a tech to hive and the investment of resources happening there. That was interesting. I think that was like a 12 pool here. I haven't seen, or an 11 pool? I haven't seen a 11 pool from Zerg against Protoss in quite some time. I think that might just be, I think that just might be a bit of a neglect here in Meyara's build order. I don't think that was intentional. We'll have to see how this plays out, though. It's possible he's got some new style of stuff he wants to do off 12 or 11 pools. Forge first, Overlord kind of sitting on the corner. I will say, as a Protoss player, if you're not scouting early, I could imagine it would be very difficult to, unless you're really paying attention to the drone line, it could be challenging to detect whether you're going up against an earlier pool or a later pool off the Overlord first opener. A cannon should be invested in, spawning pool plopping right there, and this is the really I think more of the kicker is just looking at that hatchery and seeing what state it's in. We do have a few Zerglings being built, only 2 Zerglings being invested in here, so Meyara wanting to play it a little bit more economically aggressive in the early stages rather than investing in gas, but showing a bit of flexibility in his build orders, dropping that gas about 242, which is more typical of the 3-hatch Mutalisk into 4-hatch kind of previous style. Feels like the entire ZVP thing is very much in flux right this second. And 5-hatch very much is the norm. That's weird. I feel like that cannon should get a shot or two against that Overlord with his positioning. But apparently clearly I'm wrong because it's not happening. Sometimes cannons are a little bit buggy. I will say that I feel like Yakoob's probe micro is enough where I don't think 2 Zerglings are going to cut it. By the way, 3rd hatchery at the 3 o'clock location. I do want to note that it was gas before hatchery here, so going to be a little bit faster on tech, but a little bit delayed on the minerals. Next is up, only a single cannon invested in here for Yaqoob thus far, and he is going to be able to spot that layer tech, and so should have a pretty good. He's gotten the information he's looking for. This is less likely to the probe getting dispatched, maybe a little bit recognizing he's like, let's just let it die. That we've seen. It's less likely to be a Hydralisk assault when you see this layer tech. It is possible that there's the cancellation of a Zerg player trying to be sneaky, showing you layer, doing the cancel, dropping the Hydralisk stun. That happens on occasion, but it's a lot less likely. The 2 Zerglings making their way across. Zergling speed being invested in, and an additional pair of Zerglings being added on as well. And a cybernetics core with the Stargate in place. Never mind, Citadel of Adun. That is very risky, honestly. Yaqoob saw the lair. He saw the 242 gas. So he is just presuming, he's taking some risks here. He's presuming that Meyara is going to opt to skip Mutalisk in this stage, but honestly, everything is telegraphing 3-hatch Muta, and there's the Spire. So he could end up in a scenario, depending on how Meyara invests these resources, where he gets a lot of damage done to his base very, very rapidly. In this instance, you do need to invest in Zealot leg speed and march those Zealots out in a hurry to buy yourself some time. Second assimilator being plopped down here for Yaqoob, so let's see if he tries to fill in the gap with... Sometimes you'll see an Archon as well in the space of this. It's very hard to micro Mutalisk. It is possible, but it is challenging to micro Archons. Or Mutalisk versus Archons. A creep colony being dropped ahead of the 4th hatchery. Is this just going to be straight 3 hatch? I'm kind of curious. Another creep colony being dropped preemptively. Second extractor getting grabbed. This is honestly... This could be disaster for Yaqoob based on what the current build order is. If we are just seeing flat Mutalisk, and I think we might, in fact, be seeing more aggressive Mutalisk assault out of Meyara here. We'll see how many larvae get stacked as this spire is finished, and it looks like it is going to be... We've got the resource save to invest in 5. And we basically have 0 anti-air. We have some we got a Templar Archives, we've got this cannon here, and no other anti-air to speak of. And some Scourge being produced, 2 groupings of Scourge that aren't even needed. The 4 Mutalisks, once they got a buddy, should be able to wipe out that cannon. The Zealots marching out they're gonna have +1 weapons. This is actually pretty fast assault, so usually this is around, I thought this was around like 7 minutes, 7:30, but they're coming out around 6:30. Marching across the field. That's because of the cut in the Templar Archives otherwise, but the Zealots are going to run headlong into these Mutalisk at the very least. But they're going to, and here's the thing, this is the other aspect of this for Meyara. He's drawing back. He doesn't need to. He's got 2 sunken colonies. Yaqoob actually has to dedicate this entire Zealot force here too, because if he draws them back and allows these Mutalisks to run out onto the map, he's dead at the main. He needs to actually plop down cannons immediately. He's got 2 cannons warping at the main here. There's still a lot of space that isn't going to get defended. Zealots are making up to 3 o'clock. They've been dispatched. The Mutalisks are out in the air. We have, Maelstrom being upgraded, and a number of additional cannons attempting to plop down. We have an Archon morphing and potentially a Dark Archon shortly to follow. Not a lot of Zealots to defend all of a sudden. And unfortunately, yeah, these poor Scourge. Meyara is definitely going to get some probe kills here. The Archon trying to make its way in. I think the Dark Archon's been spotted in the space of this. Ooh, big shot there. Only one of the mules took the hit. Now it'll be a test of Meyara's micro against that Archon. You can see he's having difficulty. But in the meantime, the map is Meyara's to take. And so he's about even on supply. There's a lot of territory. There's a lot of things he can attack that aren't this Archon and aren't this natural expansion to get some damage done. Another Archon morphing, by the way. Needs to be a little bit careful. Maybe he didn't spot that Archon, that Dark Archon here in the background. So we're going to have, I don't think it's 1 tick a second, but it's pretty close to 1 tick a second. As far as energy, I think it's a slightly slower. That Archon's gone. The probe's once again going to get assailed. But I will say Meyara might be missing an opportunity here by investing micro into these Mutalisks, not putting them in spaces where they might be easier to engage with, and not grabbing an additional base. I think this is his micro overlord as well. I think this is a mistake that many Zerg players make, whereas they're investing so heavily in their Mutalisk micro that they miss some of the macro aspects, in particular like grabbing an additional spawn. I think that Meyara, skilled enough here, saw the Dark Archon, knew the timing generally of the mind control, and is going to back off. And this leaves Yaqoob with a group of Zealots, 2 Archons, and a Dark Archon. But even in supply otherwise, needs to be somewhat careful. Additional hatcheries have plopped down for Meyara, so maybe I take that back. He's grabbed some, is now transitioning into Hydralisk and plopping on some macro hatches. What I would love to see him do, though, is just grab an additional base somewhere out in the map in the space of that, just because I don't know that Yaqoob would have been able to do I think he could have gotten in place and responded. And also the Mutalisks, just because of the threat like this, it forces the bulk of that army to the back. Yaqoob maybe wanting to slot here the 6 o'clock to try to engage or force an engagement. By forcing an engagement, he needs to keep that Dark Archon in a position where I guess this could actually be a big turnaround here, depending on where this Maelstrom hits. Because if it hits a lot of the Hydralisks in a grouping, that could open up the rest of this to just do a massive amount of damage. This is a lot of Zealots, by the way. +2 about to finish. I think Yaqoob's waiting for +2. starting to make his way up. Canceled hatchery now on the front. We still have the 2 Sunkens, keep in mind. This, I mean, it's basically like a stasis. That would be absolutely fantastic to catch the units there. The Mutalisks in the meantime are hovering near that 3rd, just in case. And Yaqoob still patrolling along the edge. Do we have Psystorm upgraded? This is also amazing Psystorm opportunity. Particularly with Maelstrom and combo. The Hydra, oh, look at that Psystorm. That's about as gorgeous a Psystorm as you'll see. The Mutalisk now diving in. The Maelstrom now dropped. Do we have any Psystorm remaining? Caught one of the larvae too. That's rare to see. The Zealots churning into the natural. They're not getting a lot. So the Mutalisks are going to be dispatched by the Archons. The Archons are going to get dispatched by the Hydralisks. The 2 Sunken colonies are still there. It looks like the Zealots getting some good drone kills in the space of this, but all this is doing is actually equalizing the worker count as far as the finish. Did a Zealot make it? A Zealot did make it into the main. So with this, Yaqoob actually able to even things up, but now he is out of army. Has transitioned into a lot of Dragoons. And with another round of drones, Meyara should be back into it, and he still has a decent area superiority. We don't have any Corsair. And as soon as those Mutalisks are in the air once again, they can start basically making themselves a menace. Overlord speed also, by the way, out on the map. And Dragoons do okay against Hydralisk, heads up. They do very well against Lurkers, but in single combo, they do have +2 weapons, I want to note. And this is against +0 opposite side. But usually with the Mutalisk Hydralisk combination, any sort of like air, this is kind of true for all the shoots the ground, shoots the air units. When they're having to deal with a combo of air and ground units simultaneously, it becomes a little bit more dicey. Yaqoob moving up with that Dragoon army, seeing whether there was something at a potential 3rd, is migrating that probe out. That's kind of cute. Meyara checked in and just maybe checked at the wrong time. And with the probe not in position, he's concerned about an attack on his front, that he just missed the army. Yaqoob actually is thinking about an attack on the front. It's kind of funny how both these guys are, you can see where the fog of war is really playing tricks on both of them. Checking the 6 o'clock, trying to find that army. Both ends, they're trying to figure out where the opponent's troops are located. The Mutalisks have found that army mid-map. Meyara currently in a defensive stance right this second. Problem for Meyara actually is Yaqoob's done a good job of macroing up in the space of this, and he's actually taken a significant upgrade lead. And Meyara hasn't done, okay, he's gonna cycle back around. If he picks off the High Templar, that will be huge. If he can pick off the 6 o'clock, that'll be significant as well. How many High Templar do we have in here? We got 4 High Templar. Looks like the 6 o'clock potentially going to get dropped. Yaqoob moving that army across, having trouble getting in position. The Hydral's trying to fan out as well. This might create another good Psystorm opportunity. The Mule's now drawing back. 1 High Templar, oof. Gets picked off. Never mind, doesn't even die. Still in this. And the Mutals have been dispatched, and it looks like the High Templar still out on the map. At least we got a bit of Psystorm, although there was an assault from behind. I think that took out 2 of them. Hatchery dies on the front. Some additional Psystorm to the north. I think that was mostly empty, however. The Dragoons are now standing tall, and again, those upgrades really, really paying off. And I think this is going to be, yeah, GG right there. That upgrade, it just catches so many Zerg in so many situations. Just the upgrades stack up, and then it just becomes very difficult to dispatch a heavy Protoss army. Yaqoob takes it. He will now advance 1 up, and I do feel like there were opportunities. I think if Meyara had grabbed a 4th at a certain points and started defending up, he might have had a better shot as well. Or move around. That's, I don't know, it's tough. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll move on to the next match. Thank you for listening.